Sometimes searching for the right doctor feels like you're doing a Mad Lib. You need a blank specialist who takes your blank insurance, who is within blank miles of you, except it's not a Mad Lib because it's not fun. It is truly terrible and an absolute nightmare. Insert ZocDoc, which makes it easy to fill in those blanks to help you find the right doctor for your specific needs. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments, which is great because for me personally, I've got about 10 minutes where I'm motivated to make a doctor's appointment, and if I can't make it within those 10 minutes, we're going another year. So stop being like me. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/BCC to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/BCC. ZocDoc.com/BCC.
Welcome to the chain.
This is the BCC Club, and we're your hosts. I'm Kendahl and Sarah.
And I'm Sarah Shower, and each week we go down an internet rabbit hole. What hole are we getting back into, Kendahl?
We are diving right back into the hole of weaponized incompetence.
Mm-hmm. We said we'd make a part 2 because we went through the rundown of what it is, but I wanted to get into the Reddit stories so you guys can feel the visceral anger on your commute to work. You can vacuum with a fury, you know, as you play this in the background. But other than that, how was your week, Kendahl?
It was good. I was trying to think downstairs what I was doing. I told you about my little trip. I told you about holding a baby.
Yes.
I read some books that was great. But like I told you, I'm not even going to say the book I read because after I read it, I went to do it on Goodreads, and the author, apparently I found out some information. She's not a very nice lady. But it's a fantasy, very popular fantasy novel. Yeah. So I finished that, and I liked it, unfortunately. Yeah. Now I have to. Well, I was complaining to Sarah because I wanted to read. It ends on a really good cliffhanger. And I really desperately wanted to go immediately buy the second one, which I gotta stop buying books. I live in a very small house. I have a library card. I go to the library. Yeah. But I really need something immediately, like, and not with everything, but with books or like with TV shows, or like I just want it like right now. So if I want a book, I like go, the Barnes and Nobles is right under my gym, so like sometimes I go to the gym and right after we'll go down to Barnes and Nobles and buy a book and read it that day. And so that's why I'm always buying books, because I'm like, I don't want to wait, I don't want to have to go pick it up, I want to just literally have it in my hand right now. But now to get the second book, I'm renting it from the library, so I don't have to give money to this woman. Yeah. But also, part of me wants to go buy it because I want to read it, but I'm not going to. Yeah. Anyways, that's what I'm kind of dealing with right now. Really dramatic. This week I'm going on a road trip.
Oh, nice.
Because my friend Kelsey, who I'm so excited, is moving from New York to LA, and she did like a road trip to Texas, and we're going to fly to Texas, pick her up with a rental car, and take her to LA. And I'm really excited. So we're going to do that. And I like road trips a lot. It feels, at first I was stressed because I have had a lot of travel the last couple, like 2 months, honestly. Yeah. Like a mix of work trip and personal trips, but mostly work trips. And work trips are so hard because I always say yes to them because I'm like, this will be fun. And, you know, I'll get paid and that's cool. Yeah. And this is a nice way to travel. But then it's also like I am busy traveling and I'm working, but also I'm never getting any work done. Like I've talked about this with VidCon, where it's like every time I go to VidCon, I leave being like, so great. Felt like I worked the whole time. I'm so behind on all of my work I need to do because I've been here. So I've just felt a little overwhelmed. Luckily, I've like no travel plan for the next month and a half or so, which is so nice. But at first I was a little stressed about going on this road trip because I was just like, I didn't have fucking time to do this. Yeah. But a road trip is kind of nice because I feel like I can just work from the back seat. Yes. Which is great. Set up shop there. Yeah. And just like work. Because I have a New York Comedy Festival is coming up. Oh, nice. I'm doing my sketch show in it. Hell yeah. But our sketch show is 30 minutes and the show in New York Comedy Festival is an hour. So we got to turn it into an hour show. Oh my gosh. So I need to write a bunch of sketches. So I have a lot of kind of work to do, but I'm excited. Yeah. And I'm feeling good. That's amazing. What about you? How was your week?
Good. I was going to ask, where out of Texas are you guys driving from?
Dallas.
Okay. I always know that when people do cross country or any sort of the real kicker is always Texas. Yeah. So I wish you the best.
We're starting there. So it'll be maybe nice to, and it's funny. I've done the cross country from New York to LA many times, and I've done it.
Many?
Yeah, not that many, but like many for how many I feel like is normal.
Yeah.
Like I've done it, and not specific from New York to LA, but when I moved to LA, my mom and I did a road trip to LA.
Yeah.
Or to California from New York, which was so fun. But then I used to live in North Carolina, and we did that road trip to California when we moved here. Mm-hmm. And then we did so much road tripping that middle America area. Like I feel like I've driven through Kansas 80 times, but I've never like spent time in Kansas, but I've just driven there so many times.
Yeah.
But I've never done the lower part. I've never been to New Mexico. I've never been to, New Mexico?
Yeah.
Never been to New Mexico. I've never been to Texas, never been to anything over there. So it'll be a new experience for me.
Yeah.
I'm worried it's gonna be really hot. But hopefully we'll be in the AC car the whole time. So that's okay. We're gonna go to Buc-ee's.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
Uh-huh.
And I'll film a lot of videos. I feel like I'm going to a lot of like American places. So it feels like I can film a lot of like American content.
Yeah. I think like you said, like you feel like you go to these things and you didn't really work. I think if you prepare to film some sort of concept, like on the road, or you prepare like some sort of sketch in advance, like, and you're able to, push it out while you're on the road trip, it feels like, okay, I am doing something.
I'm working, yeah. Well, it's nice because sometimes I'll go on these work trips too, especially if it's with a bunch of other influencers, and I have a hard time because I found on influencer trips, they try to get unless it's like a beauty trip, then they get all beauty people. But for the most part on influencer trips, they really try to hit every niche. You know what I mean? So they've got a comedy person, they have a person who works in fashion, they have a person who does interior design and whatever. And so it's always hard because they're like, film while you're here. But I'm like, I'm not going to pull out a wig and like film while we're at this fancy dinner. So I end up just not filming anything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of most of my job. But also I am working the whole time, like networking and doing all that stuff. But I leave being like, I have so much work. So it's hard to like, so we went on a work trip and then immediately got back and went on a personal trip. But it felt like 2 weeks back to back of kind of like not working, even though I was working, but it was not Anyways, I felt very behind and I did have a bit of a mental breakdown, but then I took my Vyvanse and honestly, sometimes I'm like, wow, the amount of noise that's going on in my brain at all times is a lot. And I don't realize it until I take my Vyvanse, then it's like silenced,
Yes, actually, yeah.
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 How was your week?
Good. Something interesting happened. So, about like 6 months ago, I saw this lesbian on TikTok talking about like, I really want to write a lesbian TV show, but there's already the L word and stuff like that. So I stitched the video and I was like, there was music playing over it because I couldn't shut off the music. And so I was yelling over this music, which is the L word theme song. And I was like, write it anyway. Because like, Jesus, there's so many straight people's shows and no one's like, oh, this is just like Friends. Every time you present a straight person show, like write another. And so they were like, yeah, okay. So then yesterday I'm checking my emails and the person is like, I did it. I wrote the TV show. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then I realized they have cast it, right? It's like an entire thing in production.
Yeah.
And so we're meeting tomorrow to talk about like how I can help like promote it. But I was like,
so cool.
And they literally like, I was like, surely I wasn't that important to this. And then on their Instagram, it's my TikTok of me being like, write it right now.
So nice.
And now the project is coming. Like, and I was like, and that's, I guess, what your job title is, influencer.
Yeah.
And so like, you're like, I don't really see any fruits of that labor. And then you see it and someone's like, well, I listened to your advice and I did it.
Yeah.
And that's like, I guess like if I'm giving tips to be sober and I meet someone at a show and they're like, I'm sober. And it's like, it's always weird. It's like, oh my God, you guys are listening.
Yeah.
This is the title makes sense. So it's just cool that I feel like inspired by that.
I know. That's why I always try to go to things like where you meet people.
Yeah.
Because like I don't read comments and I purposefully, for the most part, ever so often, but I try not to. And so it makes you feel very disconnected from like everything, where you're just kind of like, it feels like you're just making these videos and nobody's seeing them.
Yeah.
And ever so often there'll be like a moment where you're like, whoa, like, wait, why that's so motivating. Like, that's why I want to do, like I make like mom videos.
Yeah.
And I like, once again, don't really read the comments, but Jordan was at like a bowling alley or something a couple months ago. I don't remember where they were, but they ran into this girl.
Yeah.
And she was like, I have to come talk to you because like I'm a fan of Kendall's, and my mom and I like weren't very close. But then she had this video where she talked about like, I think it was, I can't remember fully, but I somewhere in the video make a joke about blackberry bushes.
Yeah.
And I guess her and her mom like really bonded over it and would like quote it. And then they both got tattoos of like blackberries. And she like showed it to her and was like, this is my tattoo. I got like, it's like Kendall's quote. And I was like, that's so nice. I was like, the fact that like you and your parent, and I feel like I've gotten comments like that about like parents, like bonding with your parent over this thing. But it's so easy to forget where you're like, what am I doing on the internet? And then meeting people is always really humbling where you're like, oh, what a nice, this is nice. It's not just like silly, stupid. It's like so fun.
Yeah. It's always like, I mean, there's like events where people like come see like stand up or something like that, or someone will meet me out in public. And something I think is really interesting that I'm always like shocked by is that like in the entertainment world, there's so much bigger fish.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always so interesting to go to an event or something and someone in the entertainment industry, in whatever part, whether they be like in film or music or something like that, they're interested to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, Naomi has a really great friend who's a photographer for like all these huge metal bands and like EDM, and they're like like a really talented photographer. And she's like, yeah, I love Sarah's stuff. And I was like, that's so crazy. Actually, the amount of people in EDM that like my stuff, I'm like, something is happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the tone of my voice.
You need to tap into it.
But like, and so I went to this premiere like a couple weeks ago, and I know that Chappell Roan set boundaries. She was there, did not say hi. And I also saw Selena Gomez there, and I ate a full hot dog in front of Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
I didn't say hi to either of them. But there was a girl that was handing out hors d'oeuvres, and she's like, oh my God, Sarah, I love your stuff. And I was like, of all the people at this event right now, I mean, like, Martin Short is here. I mean, like, everyone is here. And for you to, and I love that you're, I can't tip you. I mean, I could, but like the fact that you are like Sarah at this event, I mean, realistically, everyone's probably going up to everyone, but I was like, you're excited to see me.
Right.
I am eating a hot dog in front of Selena Gomez.
Right. Well, it's so crazy because, I feel like there's probably people, it's like, that's the crazy thing about the internet. It's like, you can come up on anyone. Everyone is the internet. Yeah. So like, Michelle Obama could be a huge fan of yours. You know what I mean?
She could be a huge fan of yours.
Right. It's just like random because it's like if she has a phone, like the Queen before she passed could have been like your number one fan. Yeah. And you wouldn't even know. Although actually I don't think she's allowed to have a phone, but.
The Queen?
I don't think the royals are allowed to have phones.
I think she has like a flip phone.
That's why it was so weird when Kate Middleton came out and was like, sorry guys, I was practicing Photoshop. Do you remember this?
No.
Do you not know we got to do an episode on Kate Middleton.
Okay.
She was like missing for like a long time.
Well, she was sick.
But people were like, is she? Mm-hmm. And then she was like, I am. But then it was like an AI generated image. It was like very bizarre. Yeah. And I think she is fine now. Well, I think she is sick. But,
okay, yeah.
I'm just saying it was a lot of, but then she posted and was like, sorry guys, I like was playing around with Photoshop and people were like, no, you weren't. Like, you're not doing that. You're
for a solid couple months, guys. It's actually a very challenging tool.
She posted an AI. She posted like a generated image that was old and was because they were like, she's okay, look at her. And people were like, this is an old picture put onto a new picture. I don't really even remember really fully what happened. But then she came out and was like, it was just me messing around with Photoshop. And people were like, you don't run your Instagram. Yeah. Like you're not like my aunt posting like a photo of her using a filter that she's like, I look crazy. It's like not like that. But anyways, she may not be a fan of yours, but it could be anyone.
It could. I was going to add, I went to the premiere and I saw, what's that? It's that white guy from Abbott Elementary.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Jacob.
Okay. I was parking my car and I saw him walking towards me. Yeah. And I waved. Because I recognized him, right?
You forget. You're like, oh, you don't know.
I was like, oh my God, hey. Yeah. He is waving now too. And he comes up for a hug and I was like, and we hug and I was like, wait.
You don't know me.
No, I said, wait, do you know who I am? Not like, do you know who I am?
Genuinely asking.
But I was like, oh my God, he doesn't know who I am. I know who he is. And he's like, I have no idea who you are. I'm just a hugger. And I was like, it was weird. So I didn't, I was just waving. I didn't go in. He went in for a hug. And so it was really nice. And I was like, you really fit your character. But
I need to be more like on, like I feel like when I'm really bad at meeting celebrities, like whenever I've met one. You just gotta
wave at them.
Well, I feel like I'll meet them and I feel this pressure to not, like, okay, I was at a party the other night. Yeah. Met Jason Segel. Okay. And I turned and it was just Jason Segel was there. Yeah. Which is like crazy to me. Yeah. And I instantly we like struck up a conversation because it was like kind of a network. It was like not, it wasn't like a bar. It was like, it made sense for us to talk. But I was like, am I supposed to say, obviously I know you're Jason Segel? So like didn't say. I was just like, how are you doing? And then we like chatted about movies that had come out.
Yeah.
But then at the end I was like, I feel embarrassed because he definitely knows I know who he is. Like, who doesn't know who Jason Segel is? Like, he's definitely like, she's pretending she doesn't know who I am. And I'm not trying to pretend like in a I'm cool way.
Yeah.
I'm just like, is it weird to be like, I know you're Jason Segel. I'm a huge fan. You know what I mean? So that but anyways, I feel like I always do that where I'll meet someone I know and I need to just be like, I'm a big fan. But instead I get panicked of being like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, like we're just normal gals chatting.
That's the thing with LA and like New York. I feel like there's a code that if you're, we're not from here, but like if you are from, like if you live here, you're not really supposed to acknowledge celebrities. And that was like literally the other celebrity that I saw was with my friend Alice just eating lunch. And it kept, like, this guy, like, table right behind us. There's a guy that I'm looking at, and I'm like, I know him. But, like, I'm like, oh, he's probably someone famous. Yeah. And then my friend Alice is like, you were just so chill, staring Tyler, the Creator, right in the face the entire time. And I was like, oh, shit.
That's who it is.
That's who. And so it's, like, crazy, like, it's just crazy seeing them.
But then I felt rude because so then Jordan walks up.
Yeah.
To like, next to me. And Jason Segel goes, Jordan Myrick, I'm a huge fan of yours.
That is incredible.
And I was like, this is really embarrassing now because clearly you're confident enough to say you know who Jordan is. But now I've sat here and pretended. Now we're both. And then, of course, Jordan goes, that's crazy. I'm a huge fan of you. Yeah. And now I'm here having to be like, who's he? Is he on TV?
You should have been like, they're taken. You know? Oh, barking up the wrong tree, buddy.
He's very nice. Yeah. Honestly, one of the nicer people celebrities I've ever met. Very,
Hell
very
yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes searching for the right doctor feels like you're doing a Mad Lib. You need a blank specialist who takes your blank insurance, who is within blank miles of you, except it's not a Mad Lib because it's not fun. It is truly terrible and an absolute nightmare, and I don't want to do it anymore. Well, insert ZocDoc, which makes it easy to fill in those blanks to help you find the right doctor for your specific needs. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments, which is great because for me personally, I've got about 10 minutes where I'm motivated to make a doctor's appointment. And if I can't make it within those 10 minutes, we're going another year. Especially with an eye doctor. I feel so little urgency to go see an eye doctor. But then anytime I tell someone that, they go, oh, you really got to go to the eye doctor. You really got to go because that's going to bite you in the butt. I'll tell you that right now. So I need ZocDoc to make a quick doctor's appointment that's so convenient. So stop being like me. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/BCC to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/BCC. ZocDoc.com/BCC.
Okay, so we already did a Weaponized Incompetence episode, which you should go listen to, where we talk about what it is. But just a quick review, it's also called strategic incompetence. It's when someone knowingly or unknowingly demonstrates an inability to perform or master certain tasks, thereby leading others to take on more work. So we do have some Reddit posts, and the first one is addressing weaponized incompetence in men. Okay, so this is, I'm going to read this one. Is this okay?
Yeah.
So this is from r/askwomenover30. Kendall, get out of here. So hi all. While I have not personally experienced this in an intimate relationship, my dad constantly gaslights me with weaponized incompetence. I know he is a smart guy. He's done IQ tests and scored over 120. He is
What's a good IQ?
I think average is around 100.
And what's a genius?
Like 125 to
30
up, yeah. Okay. He is well educated with a master's degree. However, when it comes to house chores or doing things I ask, he is suddenly incapable or forgetful. I also see memes on Instagram of women filming their husbands behaving useless/stupidly when it comes to cleaning or other house chores. It is incredibly frustrating. I'm not sure how to address this. I've seen in men's forums /Reddit that other men are encouraging acting useless / stupid to get out of caring for children or household chores. It's sickening, immature. How do we address this? And then the first comment is, are you talking individually or on a societal level? That is such a me answer. But how, it's interesting how the person said, I've never personally experienced, intimate relationship. Yeah.
Well, because do you know that it just reminds me, because she said she's seen women filming their husbands.
Yeah.
There was like that trend a while ago that was like a woman will put ketchup on the counter. Have you seen this?
Yes.
And then ask her boyfriend or husband to clean it up and then film him cleaning it up. And it is like watching a Montessori baby clean up something for the first time. Like he looks like he's never wiped anything in his life. It's so weird. It looks like he doesn't have the motor skills. It's like so bizarre. And I found it to be such a disturbing trend too, because I was like, all the comments are like, yeah, because people's parents didn't make them do this and this and this. And I'm like, I don't think that's, I mean, once again, I'm not a scientist. I'm sure there's literally been studies on this. So this is just out of my brain. But I feel like that's not true, because my childhood, for example, we didn't really do a ton of chores. Like my mom kept the house really clean, and she didn't really make us do a lot of chores. Yeah. We had a lot. We weren't like lazy kids. We had a lot we were doing, and we would help around the house. But it wasn't like we had lists of chores we did. Yeah. But there are a lot of parents who grow up and both their kids, both genders, have a lot of chores. Yeah. And I am like, I now am a great cleaner. I grew up in a clean home. It's important to me to be in a clean home. I learned as an adult how to clean really well. And I think men across the board sometimes, their level, we've talked about this before, but when you go into a college boys' dorm.
It's disgusting.
All of them, every one of them is disgusting.
Foul.
And every one of the girls' dorms is, for the most part, pretty clean, unless you're like an insane roommate. What is that? Like, why is that? There's no way that every girl was raised to be like that and every guy was raised to be this way. I know a bunch of boys growing up who had way more chores than I did. Yeah. But they just, it's like in their adult lives, their standard for cleanliness, obviously it's a very gendered conversation, but it feels bizarre.
Well, I think, I do think parents largely do kind of put more, pressure on women, especially to clean in the house. Like, sure, like, boys may have chores, but they're more like raking leaves or like
taking out the trash.
Yeah, like it's one-off things where you can noticeably see the difference, whereas opposed to like girl chores, feminine chores are always like something like sort of maintenance where like it's clean so you don't see them, like the mess never has an opportunity to pile up. So it's more invisible labor. But also the thing is like parents aren't the only people who socialize us. That we also like, the world is sending us messages. So even again, like if you're the best parent and you're like, I split the chores pretty evenly, you still can't like counteract your son or daughter going into the world and your daughter, she gets the same amount of chores as her brother, but she gets treated like shit. She has to like become hyper vigilant about how she dresses and presents herself.
Well, maybe that's it too. Yeah. It's like, it's cleanliness across the board, because I think for women, in the most like men and women way, I guess, obviously there's not a lot of nuance in this, but for a lot of women, you have to maintain yourself to work a job in a way that men can't even imagine. Yeah. And like I always just will see, especially in the space we're in of like influencers, there'll be a successful person who's like an influencer or comedian or a travel, whatever. And they're like, don't take care of themselves. I mean, like, Shane Dawson famously would be like, I don't take care of myself. Yeah. And he always kind of looks like shit on camera. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just doesn't fly for women a lot of the time. It's like you have to maintain yourself in such a... I used to, before I would go to high school, I would wake up 2 hours early. Yeah. 3 hours early sometimes to get ready. Yeah. Like, that is crazy. Boys are never doing that. Yeah. So I guess just maybe that's what it is this like outward appearance. They're not used to having spent so much time on it.
No, because maintenance tasks, like literally like wiping down the counters and just like, making sure that everything, like vacuuming and stuff, like those are repetitive hygiene tasks. Yeah. And you see the same thing with like literal hygiene tasks.
Like face washing. Yeah. Exfoliating our legs. Wiping. Like shaving.
Yeah, like your butt. Like men associate like these invisible tasks with like feminine and therefore gay bad, and so we're talking about on a societal level. On an individual level, there is room for deviation, But on a societal level, actually, can I explain the difference between psychology and sociology? So when we're talking about on a societal level, it's like a class average, right? So like your experience, your very clean boyfriend is all good and valid, but like objecting to what I'm saying with like, hey, my boyfriend is clean, it's like doing this. So sociology is class average. If I were to announce the class average is a 73 and you were to stand up and say, wrong, liar, I got a 64. You don't understand the
Weird brag too.
No, yeah.
To be like, I actually got way lower than that.
No, but I'm saying like
No, I know what you're saying.
I'm saying your test score is valid. However, average means the group. So when we talk about men on a societal level, we're talking about an average. So whatever experience you have with your clean, great, amazing boyfriend is great and valid, and he's contributing to the higher, number, the class average. But I'm saying that like on a societal level, men associate like maintenance tasks, maintenance hygiene with feminine, and that's why like house grimy as shit, right? Body grimy as shit. Shane Dawson
grimy as shit.
And so the thing is, Shane Dawson is a different case in that like rich people in a weird attempt to be relatable often do get a wee bit grimier or gross because they associate gross with poor. There's a book I read, but like if a lot of like white people do really gross stuff that a lot of people of color don't do, like you'll see them like walking around barefoot or like, touching things and then like, kind of handling their face. And it's because like they just, I can't even, it's okay. It's a whole thing. But yes, when you have more privilege, you're actually allowed to be quote unquote grosser and less put together, because people don't like scrutinize you all the time.
Well, it's like when you're really thin. Like I will look at these. Oh my God. This is like my favorite thing to look at the internet. You go to like fashion girlies.
Yeah.
And it's like the skinniest person you've ever seen. And they are wearing literally the ugliest outfit I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
And they'll be like, isn't this iconic? And it's like a shirt that is made out of a burlap sack that has like safety pins on it. And you're like, oh, actually, that's hideous. Like, and obviously fashion is subjective. Yeah. But the outfit doesn't even make sense. Like, and then they'll match it with like these corduroy like shorts that have napkins hanging off the back. And you're like, and they're like, I paid $3,000 for this. And I'm like, if I put this on, I would be kicked out of every establishment I was in. Yes. And I think there was like a viral meme years ago that was like these two plus size women wearing knee-length shorts and like a crew neck hoodie at Disney. Yeah. With like New Balances, the same ones I'm wearing right now. Yeah. And they were being like, it was like so mean. People like posted this photo and were making fun of them and being like, how your grandma dresses. And then people posted a photo of like Gigi Hadid wearing the same outfit. Because it's like, if that's what's in, is like, that was what was in at the time. That was Coachella. You know what I mean? It's like, that was what everyone was wearing. And I think there is such this like, you can't even see how horrifying these outfits are. Yeah. When people are so have like their privilege.
Yeah. It's like fat phobia and stuff. Like a lot of plus size women online talk about like having to be like always put together and always smell good and always clean because like they're so afraid of being labeled like stinky or something like that. And, people are so horrible, like fat phobic. And so like a lot of privileges that more privileged, like people who are more privileged can be objectively grosser. Yeah. Like, and that's a lot of people can't do that. And so like men are incredibly privileged. And so like they don't take care of themselves. They don't take care of their home. And everyone for the most part online is like, he's just a look at that mini fridge sitting atop that TV stand covered in gum.
Monster energy drinks and gum,
Yeah, and it's like he can't help. And so like maintenance tasks are associated with feminine. So but so addressing the weaponized incompetence in your dad, he is objectively smart. And so I would say that he thinks that cleaning is beneath him. So I would honestly just confront him. Hey, Dad, I know what you're doing, and I know that you're actually smart enough. Here's the thing. If he is as smart as he says he is, and he has a master's degree, he has spent an extensive amount of time investigating and asking the question why and being actively curious. So if you present this to him like, hey, I know that you're pretending that you don't, and if he acts any sort of confused, that's when you know that it's BS. You have a master's degree. You're a very high IQ person, and this is the thing you don't understand.
Yeah.
That's when you know that you're being gaslit.
I think what sometimes disturbs me the most in men is the fine motor skills. Because there are
Chapstick. Have you seen them put on
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's multiple things like that where it's like, oh, watch my boyfriend wipe this ketchup off the table. Why is he? Yeah, no, I've never seen that. Because why is he wiping it like a baby? It's not just that he's wiping it wrong.
Yeah,
it's wrong. It's like it's not like he's not using the right cleaner or he doesn't know whatever. He doesn't know how to wipe.
Yeah,
and anything. And then there's obviously that like annoying thing of people being like a hero of a dad, and it's a dad who learned how to like put his daughter's hair in a ponytail.
Yeah.
Why can dad? But have you ever watched a dad who can't put hair in a ponytail try to do it? It is so weird. I'm like, what are you doing with your hands? Like, you just turn it. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Or braiding, trying to watch them braid someone's hair. It is the chapstick, all of it. The fine motor skills are very lacking.
Yeah.
In a way that you're like, this is disturbing on a whole other level. It's not that your knowledge isn't there. You know how to put on chapstick, but the way you're doing it is how my nephew would do it.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have all his fine motor skills yet.
I was reading a science book. It was talking about like perspective shifts where you like look at something under a microscope and then you like you look out of the microscope and you like look in the real world. That's a literal perspective shift. And if you can't shift perspectives, you lack like depth, like of understanding. And so like I think men with the fine motor skills literally don't have depth perception too.
Yeah.
Because they can't shift perspectives and be like, because if they're like doing something feminine, they're like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like they can't, if it doesn't directly benefit them or they can't put themselves in someone else's shoes or like they literally lack depth and it's a whole thing. But I butchered the analogy, but yeah. And the thing is when I see a man put a ponytail in his daughter's hair, it reminds me of this video I watched one time of this woman trying to load a bunch of balloons into the back of her car. Mm-hmm. And she just one at a time kept pushing them in. And of course, they all started popping out the sides.
Yeah.
And I was just like, lady, grab the stem of it and tie that to the middle seats and then, or like just keep pulling it through. And that's the same thing with like a hair tie. Like, don't palm it. Like, what are you like pushing it?
It's
like
really weird.
Close your hands. Gather the hair.
Yeah.
Gather the hair.
Because it's also like, I'm just like, I don't have, it's not, I've never seen, sorry. I get choked up. Just kidding. I've never seen a woman ever touch hair like that.
Yeah.
Even I know women who have had short hair their whole life.
Yeah.
I know women who are bald.
Yeah.
They don't touch hair like that.
Yeah.
They've never touched it. Like, why are you touching it like that? It's so weird. And the only thing I can compare it to is children.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, it's literally how my 4-year-old nephew touches hair, where it's kind of like, he doesn't know how to grab it. And he's like, but it's the same with everything, where it's like, you hand him a paper towel to wipe up ketchup and he holds it like a baby would hold it.
Yeah.
Where you're like, why are you holding it? Like, you have no dexterity. Is that the right word for your hands to move?
Yeah.
Very bizarre, very scary.
They truly don't want to learn. Because I think about like traditionally masculine skills. When I was a kid, didn't know how to start a lawnmower. But then my dad showed me and I remembered, right? And like the thing is you show a lot of men how to do this skill and it's like they forget. It's like, you don't want to learn.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a disgusting example. And I used to be straight and I understand. I don't have a penis, right? Mm-hmm. But when I first encountered one, I didn't know how to handle it, right?
Yeah.
But you know what happened? I learned.
Mm-hmm.
I learned. And that. But the thing is.
But in the same regard, men will act like vaginas are what a mystery this is.
It's like.
Do you know how many times as a lesbian, a man in college, all the time, find out I'm a lesbian, the first thing they ask me is, how do you pussy? I'm like, well, not that I know because I'm gay.
Yeah.
But I don't have straight women don't ask you guys how to give a good hand job. I mean, maybe unless it's a really intimate conversation. Because they've learned over time.
Yeah.
So you've been having sex for 4 years now at the time in college, and they they literally are like, well, how am I supposed to know what to do with vagina
You
if I don't have
retained
it?
no information.
Right.
It's like
You weren't listening when they were like, hey, that feels good. You weren't listening or Google.
Yeah.
Do a quick Google. There's so much information.
That's the thing. Like, you don't know how to wipe a counter. You don't know how to load a dishwasher. At any point in any day, in any building that you work in, there is a man watching a YouTube video on how to do something relating to work. And now that's what they do. They watch YouTube videos on how to put together this like
software
Yeah.
on their that's always is a man will be like, I know how to download this software to my computer that can buy. And I'm like, oh great, no one cares. And no
Yeah.
one will ever need that from you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. But you can't load a dishwasher.
Yeah, or look up a video on how to load a dishwasher. You can't do they don't want to. They literally can learn things, right? I swear to God, we talk about like how many people are on a football team? How many people are on a football team?
What do you mean in general? Oh, in one team. I was like,
You seem like you
What? Say it.
I don't know, sorry.
you seem like you watch football.
I
Sorry.
think it's 12.
Huh? No, that's that's how many people are on like a defensive line. How many people are on football team? Okay, 53 players per team.
Jesus Christ.
And you can memorize all those people's names.
Crazy when people brag they made the football team. I'm like, yeah, you and everyone else in the school. 53
Yeah.
people. That's so many people.
We literally got staff on the offensive line. I don't know what the fuck you're talking. But yeah, okay. So we're gonna get into another weaponized incompetence. Do you want to open the doc and go to?
How do I distinguish? Or no, mom fed up?
Yes.
Mom fed up with husband's weaponized incompetence. Post on Reddit. Okay, here we go.
This is an r/working moms.
Okay. I just sent this message to my husband at 4:12 a.m. this morning because I'm so sick of weaponized incompetence. Text below. I've been awake all night for the second time in 1 week with toddler. I ordered my Mother's Day gift because it was the last day for guaranteed shipping. I put money on older child's lunch account because she was out of money. If you want the house to be clean, you need to help me go through all the shit in here and declutter. The dog's room needs to be cleaned. I've cleaned and mopped it in the last 20 plus times. I work too. I make sure older child has what she needs for school every week. I read the emails, all the emails. I make sure she has what she needs. I feel like you only want to focus on the chores you find fun and have interest in, like the lawn or the garage. Why is it always those two? I'm tired of making you feel guilty, but I bring it up that you haven't read an email or don't know what's going on. You gaslight me into thinking I'm being a bitch for bringing it up. No, I'm highlighting that you cannot focus on dealing with the additional burden because I deal with it. I give you credit for getting up with older child 50-50. I genuinely feel like I pulled at least 50% of the housework while you were working part-time. And now that you're back at work, I get 80% and all the emotional and mental labor. It's making me feel resentful, and I will honestly be livid if you try to turn this around and make me feel crazy for acknowledging this. Ordering my own Mother's Day gift so it would get here in time is also just a slap in the face. I deserve to have a partner who doesn't expect me to just handle it. I don't want to model for children, so I don't want to model this for children, so you let me know what you need to change things. I have no intention of leaving, but I also have no intention of continuing to just absorb anything you don't want to do. And I know this is going to go, I'll try to do better. How it'll actually go, he will make an effort for possibly 5 business days, but I'm not putting up with it this time. It's going to be different.
I'm literally writing a video essay on decentering men. And so this is the gender roles of moms. And you want to know who rejected gender roles first? Men. During the Civil War, actually before the Civil War, you got conscripted into the army. Like it was like compulsory. Anyone that sound like familiar to anyone? It was serving in the military was compulsory, right? And it was for the collective, right? Joining the military is not an individualistic endeavor. You are literally serving the country. You're serving the group, right? And you were signed up to do it. But during the Civil War, a lot of people didn't want to go join the military, so they paid someone else to do their work for them, right? They were like, no, I don't want to sign my life away for this stuff, and I'm just going to pay someone else to do it. That was your gender role that you refused that you would pay someone else to do, right? Mm-hmm. And during Vietnam, the draft got reinstated, and then everyone rebelled against it, right? And now the military has social benefits, right? The main reason that most people join the military, the main reason you sign your life away for the good of the group, quote unquote, is because you get college tuition paid for and healthcare, right? And so when you think about the parallels with women, when they get lured into a relationship, they're promised love and care and safety, right? And then men immediately suck that away.
Yeah.
Think about if the military did that. You sign up, right? The death rates for people in the military versus women who are married objectively get killed more often. Also, as someone whose parent was in the military, you want to tell me that, oh, they're a hero. Ask anyone in the military what they're doing most of the day. It is grunt work, right? It is mind numbing. It is just cleaning and stuff like a lot of women do, right? And so like, if men truly believed in gender roles and for the good of the group, you should join the military and refuse to be paid, okay? Then I will believe you when you say that, right? Women, if they're going to get married, they deserve some sort of compensation because their biggest threat they're actually married to, right? Like the number one cause of death for pregnant women in America is murder by their husbands, right?
I heard that the other day on a true crime thing. I was like, excuse me?
So getting married is objectively dangerous, right? You want women to take on all these tasks and you don't even compensate for them. And if you want to talk about the predatory recruiting tactics of the military, men do the same thing. You want a better life? You want to get out of this situation? Come join me and serve a bigger purpose. You literally could repurpose that for like pitching motherhood to someone.
But imagine doing it for free. Is
Yeah,
what you're saying. It's
imagine doing that for free. And with the military, at least, there's a mandatory minimum of 4 years. What if the mandatory minimum was 18 years and you didn't get paid for it? And you actually had more chance of dying. How that would be, if that was a military proposition, there would be riots in the streets. It's just so genuinely upsetting. And this is the thing. This is why the internet is so important. Women, I read this a long time ago. There's this book called Burnout, right? And there's this thing called human giver syndrome where women are supposed to give and give and give and give to everyone, right? And the thing is with women, we do care tasks and maintenance tasks, and I'm just lumping myself in. And those are tiny things.
Yeah.
A tiny amount, like small tasks that all, create one big thing. And so men, they're like, they ask for something and they're like, why can't you do it? It's like, because you ask for so many tiny things and that adds up. Like with the Chapel Roan situation, setting boundaries. If you're at a meet and greet and you paid for a photo, then you get a photo. But the thing is imagine how many people stop and ask for a photo, right? This is like hundreds of people all day, and that does add up to time, and time is money, right? Everyone says we have the same amount of hours as Beyonce. That is not true. She has people that work for her that do a lot of things. Time is a privilege that a lot of us don't have. And so when you have 20 to 30 tasks that take up 3 hours of your life, adding one more tiny thing can break you. And what I wish women would look up to reassure you that you should start charging honestly and demanding money, look up the difference between a babysitter and a nanny, right? Like, I think that we should all, I'm sorry, I'm talking so long.
No, I'm into it.
We should all move towards a community orientation, right? And I love helping out other people. You should like helping out other people, but try to frame it like this. I am down to babysit. I am not down to nanny. Nanny is, yeah, sure, that's childcare, but there's so many different qualifications, right? Like this expectation to maybe cook, like live in the house.
Have like a childhood education background or whatever it is,
And probably most any person in your life could step into babysit, but not everyone can step into nanny. So whenever like people are like, can you help me out? And they start to exceed babysitting duties.
Yeah.
And that is frequency of the amount of tasks that they ask. Then you should you should charge them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this was similar to like my parents, what she's describing, which I think is like, once again, love my dad. I don't mean to bash him on the internet after he's passed, but he can't defend himself. But my dad, I mean, I only say this because I love my dad. My dad was like one of my best friends. He was the best. He was a great dad. He was wonderful. But he was, I would say, a professional at weaponized incompetence. Like there was, and I think it was even heightened because he was paralyzed.
Yeah.
And so he originally was paralyzed on his left side, his full left side. And then over the years, it kind of gotten worse. And by the end, he was pretty much fully paralyzed. But he could use his right arm. Anyways, he would not do anything. And I think as a kid, I was like, well, he's paralyzed. But as I got older, I was like, a lot of the stuff I just do for him, he can do. Like, actually. Like, he can, like, he always would ask my mom or I to get him a refill of Diet Coke. Me, coded. But I was like, he can do that. Why? Like, I remember having a day where I was like, wait, why do we do that? He can do that. Yeah. And I know because when we're gone, when I'm at school or when my mom's at work, he does it. But when we're there, he asks us to do it. And it sounds like such a small thing, but it was the accumulation of like every 20 seconds you could find something. Like imagine every time you get out of bed and go to grab your computer charger or grab this, like having all of that for yourself and then having every 2 minutes someone asks you to do a little thing that feels like no big deal. Yeah. Like if I turned to my wife and was like, hey, can you get me a Diet Coke out of the fridge? And they were like, no, do it yourself. I'd be like, okay, that's rude. Yeah. But if it was every day, like every time, it becomes so much and all encompassing of your life. Yeah. And like he was someone that it's like he just didn't know. I don't think he probably knew any of my teachers' names unless they were a teacher work because he was a present dad. Like I would tell him stories if I had an interesting teacher, but my mom would know who my teachers were, who I had a problem with, the emails of all my teachers, what time I had the class, the names of the women in the office in case she needed to drop something off. She knew when was a half day, when wasn't a half day, how much money I had for lunch. Like all of that information is so like, there's no reason he wouldn't know it. Yeah. And I think he just never even thought about it. Like, it's just not a thing to think about when you're the dad. When both my parents worked, and at a certain point, my mom mostly worked. Yeah. But she also did all of that stuff. But I think even for, like, her, I don't want to speak for her, but I feel like even women of that time forget that this isn't normal. Like, I just hear so many women now that friends of mine are getting married and having babies with men. Yeah. The moms, the way their moms talk about the husbands, it's like so eye-rolly because it's like, I saw him, he twice took the baby and changed his diaper. And I'm like, what a super dad. And I'm like, no, that is crazy to not have your partner help with the baby. Yeah. But I think they didn't even know. It's like, it's just so normal to have your husband not know that stuff. It's almost like a trope and a joke. Yeah. For them to not do any of them. But it adds up so much. And like, I've even said to my partner where I'm like, there are times during, especially my work day, that's the only time, like, if it's a bunch of little things, they can really add up. If it's like before, we'll make our to-do list the night before. And it's like, could you do this and do this and do this? And it's like, sometimes it adds up. And especially if you have ADHD, for me, if every 2 seconds someone's going, can you get my computer charger? Yeah. Can you get this? And it's like taking me out of what I'm doing. It becomes so much. And it's just really like consistent with dads. Like I think that like when I look back at my childhood and I think of all the PTA was all moms. Yeah. Which it's like famously, like there was not a single dad, I don't think, on the PTA. Yeah. Whenever I would go home with a friend, their mom was picking me up from school. Like I didn't know half of my friends' dads unless I went to their house, unless I was really close to them and was at their house. But then I feel like I have memories of like dads taking me to a fun thing or dads getting to come on the field trips or like that's when the dads would show up. And you're kind of like,
it's the one-off things.
Yeah, it's like the thing that they can also like take a picture of, show that they did it versus like, and I think we all have this sometimes with our partners where it's like, you want to communicate you did a thing because you're like, I think there's a lot of things you don't see that I do. Yeah. Like throughout the day, not like with a specific partner, but the things like that where it's like, you never notice, not my partner, but it'd be like, my dad, you don't notice that I wipe down the counter every day because it's never not been wiped down. Yeah. So you just think it's like that. Yeah. And it's not until I leave. It's kind of like when Jordan would be like, you never refill the toilet paper. And I was like, yes, I do. I always refill the toilet paper. And then they went out of town for a week and I literally kept having to wipe my ass with with a washcloth. And because I was like, why am I not refilling the toilet paper? And it's like you become aware. You're like, oh, it's just always filled because I don't ever need to worry about it because my partner always fills it.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the possibility of me not doing it because I never had to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I am. This is always, you know what's interesting is like people always talk about like how small of tasks they are as if like, oh, you can't do one small task. But the thing is, it's a frequency problem.
Yeah.
And it's a music people. Anyone who, you listen to music here? Like a song with a slow tempo, right? That's like, you can listen to it on the background. If you put on a song with like high frequency, like,
Yeah.
that's going to be grating, right? And that's what like emotional labor is that's the tempo going on in the background. And so it's not the one beat, it's the fact that like it's so many. And so that's what
Yes, exactly. But then it feels like it's easy to turn it back around and be like, God, you're freaking out because I didn't do this one tiny thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's like, no, because I can't do all the tiny things I already need to do and all the tiny things you need me to do as well.
Yeah.
Because they add up to a full day, especially with kids. I'm like, I cannot even imagine. Like,
Yeah.
Jordan and I always talk about how if we ever decide to have kids, it's like, it feels like when people talk about how, I feel like you hear so much where they're like, well, we wanted to have a baby to see if it would fix it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like famously a trope is like, have a baby to fix your relationship,
Yeah.
which we've always been like, that's crazy. That's the craziest thing to do. Because I feel like my relationship is rock solid. I don't think anything could break it. But I think if we had a kid, that's the one thing I could be like, I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
We would have to really communicate. We would
Yeah.
have to go into therapy. We would have to make sure we were communicating because having a baby is so hard. So I think because it's all about making sure you both can like and I think I look at sorry, I'm going kind of all over the place, but I look at all my friends' parents growing up and I feel like the dad had like hobbies.
Yeah.
Like hunting or would go fishing. And it's like none of the moms had hobbies. Their hobby was they didn't have any hobby. Their hobby was
Yeah.
just being at the school with the children.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. This also the fact that you had to get your own Mother's Day gift and you were awake for the second time in 1 week. The thing is I know this sounds extreme, and the thing it's not these individual tasks. It's like I know like resentful indicates that this is constant, right? And the fact that he'll change for 5 days and then he'll go back to whatever, it's because he does not care to change. And so learned helplessness, learned hopelessness is all because you feel like, you know, you don't feel any sort of need to change or like there's no point in changing. And so while there is like a trauma element to that, this is not a trauma thing. He has been set up in his life where he's afforded all these privileges and his gender role of man of the house, he's accepted it, right? And he puts that on you. The assumption of permanence, right? You need to break the assumption of permanence for him to actually want to change. And what you're going to have to do is, you said you're not getting a divorce. Whether or not that happens or whatever, you need to start putting money away from yourself for yourself, right? And it's not to say like, oh, I like leave him. I'm saying when you know that you could sustain yourself on your own, right?
How does your perspective change?
Yeah,
Like,
there's going to be a genuine confidence that builds in you. Like if you invest, like you put money away, you start investing money, whatever amount you can, or you start investing in hobbies, you become rich internally, right? Or like literally, like you get, more
money.
You are going to have a confidence and a sort of attitude that you're like, I don't actually have to deal with this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like he's going to feel since his assumption of permanence, he's going to start to feel sort of wobbly and unstable in the relationship. Like you don't have to tell him that you've got money or, your hobby, whatever. But just like he's not going to recognize who you are and like the fact that you're changing and he doesn't know how to adapt to that. And he's either going to show his ass and most likely they're going to show their ass in which you've put money away. Or he's going to like feebly try to change.
Yeah.
So just really invest in yourself to the most you can. And even if he sees the fruits of that, you just feel different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's also just like such a weird. It's like all these simple things too that are, like I said, that a baby could do. A 5-year-old.
Yeah.
If I had a 5-year-old, I'd be like, yeah, you do the dishes. You're old enough to do the dishes. And they can't do this stuff. And then I feel like there's this whole generation of women that are labeled like controlling. And obviously that's on an average. I know there are some women that are controlling, just like there's some men that are controlling.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some moms that's like, you just can't do anything right, no matter what, they're gonna be mad.
Yeah.
But I think a full generation of women have kind of been given this trope of like, my wife says I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, my wife doesn't want to do it because she thinks I'll do it wrong. And it's like, yeah, because you do it wrong. And why can you not load a dishwasher?
Yeah.
Why are you not responsible enough to do the laundry? I understand if you like messed it up once and she'll never let you do it again, and that could be frustrating. But it's the fact that every time you do it, she has to redo it. Every time and it just gets exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's such a thing that I feel like people made fun of women for so long, of just being like, well, she doesn't let me do the things she doesn't let me dress the kids because every time there's a full trip of like, this, look how the dad dressed the kid.
Yeah.
Why are her pants on backwards, and why is she in the ugliest outfit you've ever seen?
Yeah.
You didn't dress yourself like that.
Yeah.
Why are you dressing a child like that?
Yeah.
Why can't you put a cute outfit together? Why can't you? It's so weird, and just like, it feels like fake. It feels like not real. Like, why? You know how to do other things well.
Yeah.
And all of these things you've just deemed, I guess, unimportant, like you said. But I think I just feel bad for all these women that it's like, oh, they're controlling. And it's like, because some people don't have time to do everything twice.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it. And there's no point in arguing with you, because you're just going to argue. We don't have time to argue because I have to take care of 3 kids. You know what I mean?
There's this there's this term called a thought terminating cliche, and it's a cliche that people say to stop getting you to think about something. But like, people always say relationships aren't transactional, and like, whenever a woman's like, please do something for me, you are the one who made it transactional. If you expect someone to take care of you, do your laundry, all this stuff, you have already assigned them a job. Right? If they have to make a list of what is done in the house, you can't do it yourself. You've assigned them to a manager position, which means you are the person who made it transactional. Naomi and I's relationship is not transactional because Naomi knows what to do in the house, right? And we both do it. Yeah. If I had to make a list, I'd be their manager. So now it's become, they have some, there's actually expectation of compensation, right? Because someone is taking on a majority of the labor. If you expect to be taken care of, if you expect the house to be taken care of, you made it a job, right? And there are 3 jobs that I really want, actually, like, women and people who feel like they've taken on a lot of workloads to look into. Look at the Reddit page for nannies and the insane things that people ask of nannies. They're like, can we pay $200 a week for 3 children? And it's like, so that would be $800 a month. And that's how low people value taking care of children. It's like, that should, if I was going to have someone take care of my kids, I'd spend so much money on that. And then maid services, therapists, right? Hospice workers, like those, all 4 of those, look into how much each of those people make and add it all together, because you are doing all those jobs simultaneously. And then take yourself seriously. And if someone demands one more thing from you, you now know, actually, I should start charging you for this. Yeah. And it's even if you don't start charging, in your head that what you're doing has value, and you shouldn't take this shit. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, there's another one called...
sorry.
I just want to read one more. My girlfriend keeps accusing me of weaponized incompetence when I screw up a task. I'm generally just dumb. This is me hooded also.
I think it might be a wee bit long. Oh, no, it's not. It's good.
It's not. Okay, let's see. Okay, hi Reddit. I'm facing a situation in my relationship that I could really use some advice on. My girlfriend has been accusing me of what she calls weaponized incompetence when it comes to tasks she asked me to do around the house. For those who might not know, weaponized incompetence is when someone pretends to be bad at a task to avoid doing them. However, I'm not pretending. I genuinely struggle with these tasks and often make mistakes, but my girlfriend thinks I have ulterior motives. I really am not doing this on purpose. Sometimes I just don't get things right. I want to improve, and I've offered to fix my mistakes and work on getting better at these tasks, but she seems convinced that I'm just trying to get out of doing them. How can I communicate to her that my mistakes are genuine and not intentional? I really want to resolve this and show her I'm committed to doing my part. Here are 3 examples. Cooking, for example, she asked me to help more in cooking. I've tried following recipes, but I often end up overcooking or undercooking things, sometimes even mix up ingredients. It's not for lack of trying, but I seem to mess up more than not. Another instance is doing laundry. I've accidentally mixed colors with whites a few times, which resulted in some clothes getting stained. I genuinely didn't realize it would cause a problem, and now I'm extra careful, but mistakes made for skeptical of my efforts. I also tend to misplace things around the house, like not remembering where I put the remote or the keys, even though this person just has ADHD.
Yeah.
Even though I was the last one to use them, it's never intentional, but adds to her frustration and feeds into her belief I'm avoiding responsibility. Yeah, I feel like I relate to him in this.
Yeah.
Because I have very severe ADHD. And I think there are moments where, you talk about weaponizing confidence. You're like, oh, do I have this? Like, I want to make sure I'm not doing anything, whatever. I think like anything, it's not black and white. So I think there are things in life, in a relationship, where like you're not great at it, or you mess up that aspect of your relationship. And each person has those things. Like I think in a good relationship, both partners have things where it's like, she's not that great at that, so I make sure to do it. It's like, I will make sure one of the couple makes sure to open the mail because one of them doesn't like reading the mail, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's overall, everything is just kind of like, I don't know how to do any cleaning task.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, it's like Jordan is better at organizing. I'm better at cleaning.
Yeah.
But if Jordan just couldn't organize or clean and left everything a mess, that would feel like weaponized incompetence to me. Versus like, I'm not good at cooking and mess stuff up. First of all, it's a skill. So I think cooking, it's like takes practice. Doing laundry, if you make one mistake, that's not weaponized incompetence. And that's a mistake. And if you're like, I want to try again, to me, that's already not weaponized incompetence. To me, if you're writing into Reddit being like, I want to be better, it's already, I'm like, not weaponized incompetence. I just feel like either she's mean or she's geared up or there's more to this story. You know what I mean?
There is the first indication that something was wrong was the cooking, for example. She asked me to help with cooking. I've tried following recipes, but I often end up either overcooking or undercooking things. Sometimes even mixing up ingredients. So often indicates a frequency that he keeps messing it up. And with cooking, there are instructions. Unless you're making quiche or something very complex, to often undercook or overcook.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, he said, thanks for any advice you can give. And then there's an edit at the bottom, and the edit is telling me, I do many other chores around the house. We have an even workload. I might even do more. I don't know why everyone is so horny for me to be a lazy, useless man, but that's not the case. Going to stop replying to comments for my own sanity. Here's the thing. I am reading the top comments, and these are the ones that are getting him riled up. If you want to improve these skills, what are you doing to get better? Are you working on being more mindful where you put things? Are you reading labels on food more closely so you don't mix up ingredients? What's your plan to be better? That is a very level-headed follow-up.
Yeah, if he's asking for advice.
Top comment. And so like he is answering to these. But some people say, get your ADHD treated, watch some videos on how to clean house and cook and get it together. You're a 31-year-old. Okay. But 31-year-old man. But the thing is like I regularly online ask for feedback on what I've learned. Mm-hmm. And I have had so many people DM me like helpful information on certain topics. Almost at no point, besides when someone's talking to me like I'm an idiot, am I like, okay, well, now you guys think I'm stupid.
Yeah.
I went online and I asked for advice, right? I don't like when some people do talk down to me like I'm dumb, but like for the most part, everyone is so encouraging. You went online, you asked a question. The top comment is so genuinely open-minded.
Yeah, totally.
I think...
well, I think it's also hard because I think I'm coming from a place of being in a homosexual relationship, which I think automatically changes a lot of this because I've never been put into a role just because I'm a woman, like ever.
Yeah.
I mean, in a relationship. Because I think it's like, she always does the cooking. And it's like, well, why? Like, why is it because she loves cooking? Because then look at my relationship, it's like, Jordan loves cooking. Before we dated, it's like one of their favorite things. I don't really like cooking. I cook my breakfast, lunch, and most of the time I make my own meals. But I don't like cooking. It's like relaxing to them. They love making us a dinner. So like, they kind of take charge of that thing. But not because they're not a man and they naturally just got put into that position. So I think what's nice about like gay relationships is you guys decide kind of like, oh, you like that task more.
Yeah.
Versus I think even in like really like, progressive households that are straight. Yeah. So much just gets put on either gender because it is just naturally how it goes. And it's like, well, you're the woman, so you would naturally clean more than I would. Yeah. Versus like, I think in homosexual relationships, there's so much talking about like, what do you like? What do you, I don't need to do this task. You can do this task because you like it more and I don't like this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if she's cooking every time, is it because she likes cooking or is it just because he assumed she should do all the cooking?
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that it's 3 separate things he's not good at.
Yeah.
If it was like, if he's like, I'm just genuinely not good at cooking, I understand that. But he was like, cooking, laundry, and I misplaced a lot of things. Like, and that's just, so organizing, you know, and laundry, that's all, again, feminine tasks that you're not good at. 3 separate.
Yeah.
You at no point, if he would have thrown in here, this is what I would have I would believe him on. If he's like, I don't mow the lawn in a normal pattern and it's kind of frustrating to look at. If you were to throw in a masculine task that you weren't good at, I'd be like, okay, we need to get the ADHD under control. Yeah. But the fact that they're all feminine tasks.
He also says, I just realized I've accidentally mixed colors with whites a few times, which resulted in some clothes getting stained, which it feels crazy to me because if anyone has ever stained their clothes red, you know that's the only time you've ever done it. Like, I feel like you do it once and maybe 20 years later you'll do it, but it scares the shit out of you and it ruins a bunch of your clothes that you like and it sucks. Like, it literally sucks. So when he's like, I'm extra careful now, I'm like, well, no, you're not. Because you've done it a few times. Who dyes their clothes accidentally a few times? That's such a one-time thing that you do and are like, damn, that blows.
Yeah, and I like, so multiple times messing up cooking and laundry. And the cooking, I don't think you're making anything complex. If you messed up your laundry, everything is pink. The thing is also if you're messing up the laundry, you have to consider like clothes cost money, right? And so like you could be messing up her clothes too. Yeah. So like you're frequently fucking up across 3 separate realms that are all feminine care tasks. It's all and then your response to people who genuinely giving you advice, it sounds like you don't want real feedback. You want someone to suckle on the tip of your peen and tell you that you're a good little boy. Like
which because I guess it is hard because things get messed up. Like everyone has stuff that, things like I'm not good at certain things. For example, I used to be really bad at opening mail. Really overwhelming because I'm a bad reader. Yeah. Most of the time I would open everything and not understand what any of it meant. Uh-huh. I missed a bill one time. Jordan, of course, was annoyed because we had to pay more because I didn't read my mail, which is irresponsible. And it doesn't matter why. Once again, I think people are still like, well, I have a reason why I didn't do it. It's like, okay, cool. You don't need to like flog yourself. You don't need to like go be like, I'm the worst person on earth. Like, that's actually not helpful. Yeah. But you can't just not open your mail. And now I feel like I'm really good to open the mail in our house. But it took me time. Like, even my therapist and I talked about it because I was like, I feel like I can build habits, but it takes me a little longer. Like, it takes me a couple reminders, takes me some time. Jordan and I have talked about that, whatever. But I eventually get there and I put in all these steps. Yeah. So, like, I put up a thing in our house for mail. I make sure I always go through our mail. I have piles for mail. I do all this stuff to make sure I'm doing it. And there's accommodations they've given me where they're like, if you get overwhelmed by something you open, just give it to me and I'll read it. Things like that where it's like, you can't, it doesn't mean you need to be perfect in everything. If you're really bad at cooking. Yeah. Well, why don't you ask her, can we have a night when she's going to make dinner? Can we have a night where I just like shadow your cooking and can ask questions? I bet she'd love that. I mean, I don't know this woman, but so I think it's also like, the weaponized incompetence includes the work you're doing. If you're not ever trying to do better, then you're not trying to do better, which I know sounds obvious, but I think people are like, I'm trying my best. And it's like, are you? Are you trying at all? Yeah. And you don't need to be perfect at everything, but you need to be your version of perfect, which is like the best you can do. Yeah. And, I don't know. I think it's just, I think it's hard to, I think people are very black and white. So I think it's like you can mess things up or not be good at stuff. But I think if someone is saying you use weaponized incompetence often, maybe hear it out.
Yeah. And also, like, you're 31 and you don't know how to cook, like, basic meals. And here's the thing.
That's crazy. Because even when I was like, I started dating Jordan when I was 20, 21. I remember there were a couple times where I was like, well, I'm really young, so I still need to learn some of this stuff. So like, if I mess up the food, doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. I really want to like still be an independent person that can like do all this stuff. So I just need a little more like, I need to mess up a little because I'm young. 31. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but.
No, I think it's very fair if you go on Reddit and you ask for advice, and if you genuinely need accommodation. Like, the thing is I know that someone's going to respond, what if he has like ADHD? He didn't even say he has ADHD or whatever. But the thing is if you go online and you are talking about your situation and, you know, someone views you as incompetent, I would actually specify I may need accommodations, or like I have like ADHD or autism. So people have it in their mind, oh, okay, you know, and now they can cater the advice to, okay, this is ADHD, sort of like you did not, so I'm not even going to assume that he has any sort of like mental things,
Right.
You know, that he needs to work on. So this is, I don't care if he does. He didn't even specify it. If you don't want to give us the full picture, then that's...
But even if he does, you can do...
But you should be able to ask.
Yes.
Yeah, and so, like, the thing is he didn't specify that, so he would just be a 31-year-old who doesn't know how to learn from the first time you do laundry. The thing is, you talked about 3 feminine care tasks, and all 3 you mentioned that you mess up multiple times. So I'm going to assume 3 times you've messed up cooking, the laundry, and losing stuff. So that's 9 things you've mentioned as a 31-year-old that are basic life skills that you cannot do.
But even like if you do have ADHD,
Yeah.
it's like a couple months ago, Jordan was like, I feel like a lot of times when we leave the house, you don't know where your wallet is, and it makes us like a couple minutes late.
Yeah.
You don't know where your wallet is. Yeah, I know that's because I have ADHD. They know it's because I have
Yeah.
ADHD. Sometimes, at least sometimes I'm just being careless. I don't know. But so,
Yeah.
I mean, it like that's totally a symptom of ADHD. It doesn't really matter. They're not telling me I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
They're not being like, every time you lose your wallet, I wish you were dead. It's not like
Yeah.
they're saying that. But it's annoying. So I had to think, okay, what's going to help me not do that? And it's like, I got a purse, and every time we are going anywhere, I take 15 minutes before everyone
Yeah.
else is getting ready, and I make sure I have everything I need. And yeah, I have to take extra time than other people because I have an issue that
Yeah.
other people don't have. And so it's like, did it take me a little longer to get there? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Am I dealing with something that other people don't deal with? Sure. But it doesn't mean it can't negatively affect that person. And what you don't want to be as someone with ADHD is someone whose partner has to make their whole life about making sure you can get through the day.
Yeah.
Because that's like not fun for either of you, and also not necessary.
Yeah.
Like you and sometimes I'm like, the way I'll hear people in the ADHD community talk about it, I'm like, that's pretty mean to ADHD people. You're really
Yeah.
acting like we cannot do anything. When
Yeah.
it's like, with a little accommodations, we can do the same exact thing everyone else can. We have to be a little more aware. We have to have coping mechanisms, but most people do with something.
Yeah.
So I think with that, even it's kind of like, she can still be frustrated. Even if you have ADHD and she's mad at you, that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
she's not mad at you for having ADHD, but if she's mad because you forgot something you needed to remember, yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't just be like, well, I have ADHD, so you can't do that.
Yeah. And like the thing is like in a relationship, like Naomi often forgets like their wallet and their keys, but I see them scattered around the house and I always put them in a pile. And that's like a give and take sort of thing. So like, you know, you talk about you have 15 minutes like earlier, but also in a relationship where one person does have some
Right.
sort of like, you accommodate each other.
Exactly.
And so it sounds like you're not, and I'm not saying that you both have ADHD in this relationship, but it sounds like you don't even try to accommodate her. Like,
Yeah.
so I think you should just suck it. Like, God, this is just so annoying. And I wish I could tell, yes, you're a lazy, useless man, but I'm not horny for it. I feel nothing for you. Ugh, this is just so upsetting every time.
And we do this one and the Sedona episode.
Yeah.
Which Sedona feels like a man. It feels like the same anger I'm feeling at a man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, you guys. This is the BCC Club. If you're listening,
Wait, you should pick up the book Burnout by Emily Nagoski. I'm telling everyone that. It's really good. It talks about like burnout and just, you know, what you're expected to give, compassion fatigue, you know, like where someone's like, people keep asking you to help and help and help.
Right.
And then you're like, I
Enough.
actually don't care anymore. And then they're like, wow, evil woman. And it's like, fuck. But buy that book. And then, yes, thank you guys.
yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Sorry.
Buy that book. It's great. I haven't read it, but maybe I should. And if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast, make sure to rate and review. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Bye. guys.